Kapil, I come to you. You know, when a single store starts and then they go on to becoming chains, in his case, he has almost close to 400 stores. Mr. Kumaravel has 500 stores. You know, how do you ensure that the quality in these stores is really optimum? As an entrepreneur, both of them are entrepreneurs. You know, I'm sure that they've got their hands full in terms of ensuring that growth happens, the right amount of capitalization happens, the right training happens. But within, let's say, a unit store, how do you ensure that they are same all across? So what kind of, so I know you have a solutions which are towards helping the brands to make sure that where there are probably gaps are coming in, how do you fulfill these gaps? So how do you make sure that happens?
Thanks, Ritu, for the question. I think it's a very pertinent question in today's age and date. But I'm sure that Mr. Kumaravel and even Subhashji is very sure of how they've solved this problem, because reaching to the digits that they have in terms of their expanse shows that they have got something right which is working. But, as Mr. Kumaravel said, that the opportunity is much bigger than what we see today. We're still not at the couple of thousand mark in terms of stores that we see internationally, where one brand would have 5,000 stores, and some would also have 10,000 stores globally. And India as a country, and the density that we have, and more importantly, the way that the consumers and the bulge of the wallet that they're carrying today, it's moving up so fast that everyone is a consumer today. And that is what maybe I'm going to share in my presentation today, that everyone is a consumer. The key thing is that how do I get that customer to my store or to my salon repeatedly? So when we were tackling this problem, I would say a decade ago, when we had certain brands that were into the electronic space, and they had the same challenge. What Subhashji is saying is that I'm selling the same product, which is the same next door, which is maybe the same in front. So why would a customer come to my store? And that is where we brought this element of mystery shopping, where we would create a sort of a structure and a program within the organization where the staff is told that we're going to monitor your knowledge of the product. We're going to measure and monitor how do you interact with the customer, where every day there will be a decoy customer who's basically a mystery shopper. And your salary and your incentives are based on that interaction with that customer. So the moment there's a customer who's coming in, you can imagine that I'm a sales staff person who's sitting behind the counter, and I do not know whether he's a mystery shopper or he's the real customer. So what I would do is that I would always go out of my way, greet the person well, welcome the person into the store, understand his query, try to give the right information, and more importantly, help him buy than to sell the product. And that is how the conversion from a footfall, it becomes a cash fall. So mystery audits, if structured correctly, and that is what we have done as an organization, since we're a solutions-based organization, we ensure that the mystery audit program at the end of the day would bring footfalls and cash falls to the organization. It would also help the hygiene, maintain the hygiene, because he cannot be present at every store. So it's a self-policing, self-measuring, and self-monitoring tool. And most of our clients have used it not as a fault-finding activity, they've used it as a fact-finding activity to ensure that they empower the team. And that has helped as a positive enabler.
That's great. So at this stage, I'll also open the floor for discussion. So if you have a question, I think our discussion will continue, but please feel free to raise your hands and pop the question in. We'll not wait till the end of the session. I have another question for you, sir, and Mr. Kumaravel, to you as well. You largely are, so in your case, the whole model is dependent upon products which are probably sourced from manufacturers and sold to consumers. And sir, in your case, probably you see that a lot of product that is being used within the salon is really sourced from larger companies like a L'Oreal or a Schwarzkopf. Do you feel that when you were, now that you have a greater footprint, at some point of time when your footprint was small, you had less number of stores, these companies, the big manufacturers, never used to give you the same sort of importance or probably the same sort of terms, I would say, which they would give to a national retailer. And how did you overcome that maybe in the initial days to grow as big as you have. And I'm sure once you achieve a certain size, these terms change and manufacturers are far more open-handed as compared to what they were earlier. How do you actually solve a situation like that and yet be able to pass the best to your customer during that time?
No, in the beginning, definitely size does matter. And if you have a bigger purchasing power, you are respected more. There is no two opinion about that. Whether it is the terms what you are getting for purchase, that is a very smaller portion. But the training support what you will get from them, from an international trainer, and the frequency of training is very high. I remember when I opened my first salon, I need to wait for 15 days for an appointment with a L'Oreal stockist. Here I have to only take my phone and tell I am opening a salon in a remote corner of India. The country chief will come and open the salon. When the country chief comes, all the paraphernalia will also follow. The stockist, the merchandising, the media, everything will come, and that will ensure the salon success. So size definitely matters, and the bigger you are, more respected you are. There is no two opinion about that. In the initial stage when we did not have size, we compromised on our margin and ensure the good product is given to the customer. And that is a conscious decision we have taken. Because we don't have size, we cannot talk the same language. We as a, what you call the franchisor has to play the role, cut a little bit on our side, ensure the service and the products are available, more training. Before that, we used to get the trainers from Bombay on our cost and train the people. Today, we don't, that cost is coming to us free of charge. Earlier, we have to do all the merchandising material, we need to put it ourselves. Today, all we have to do is ask for the merchandising material. So many such things are coming. We have a template now. We all tell them that we are going to open this salon for you. L'Oreal takes 10 salon, Schwarzkopf takes 10 salon, and Vella takes 10 salon. When we divide and rule, the Britishers have taught us that. I think it still works very well in India.
Well, in the case of Sangeeta, the industry, as I was mentioning a little while ago, did not have anything called a price protection in the initial years. There was no retailer, as I mentioned, selling mobile phones other than the grey market, and so there were no rules at all. Sangeeta was the first retailer, and thereafter, several retailers joined the league. Post that too, we never had a price protection for a couple of years. And thereafter, Nokia came with a 7-day price protection policy. Nokia could get away with just a 7-day price protection policy. So what does that mean? If there is a price drop on a model of Nokia today, so they work backwards. So the last 7 days, whatever I have bought, that is protected. So if my stock is 1 or 10 or 100 beyond what I have bought in the last 7 days, that's just burning a hole in my own pocket. It was very harsh. Virtually every retailer in the country has contributed, I would say, or donated to Nokia in the form of losses on account of price protection from Nokia. Probably that's one of the curse that Nokia is going through today. Nokia, which eventually bought over by Microsoft, but still they are, the curse of all the retailers over the years is what they are having to bear today. As we grew, and market dynamics also changed, not just for Sangeeta, there were more brands. The concept of Indian brands emerged. Micromaxes, Lavas, Carbons, Intexes, Spice, all these happened. So once there are many brands, so obviously the retailer becomes even more stronger. So the upper hand is the retailers. So the dynamics have changed. But even today, if not 7 days, there are some brands who give 15 days, there are some brands who give 21 days, some others who give 30 days. But a typical mom and pop store retailer does not get more than 30-day price protection in this business, in this industry. Somebody like Sangeeta, with the sheer size that we have, we guys are protected on our physical stock. So therefore, now we believe that we have reached a scale where we can really go all out on franchising And therefore, we have internally set ourselves a target of 1,000 stores in the next 12 months. 1,000 meaning from 350 to 1,000. So adding another 650 stores in the next 12 months. And predominantly coming from the franchisee route. And why it can be a success is, as I said, the single store guy who becomes my franchisee, today, the biggest risk of his is losses on account of price drop. That is straight away mitigated. That question does not arise. On top of it, all these value-added services that we have built over a period of time, he gets them straight away. And he also gets a better margin.
So Kapil, like as a business owner or as a retailer, you cannot go beyond the means and say that I'm going to give everything to the customer. So my point is, how does an innovation really become sustainable from a retailer's perspective? How can you not give away too much and yet at the same time be able to keep something for your business and make it grow and make it happen?
So again, I think the idea is to capture the pulse of the consumer. We remember doing a case study for a leading eyewear retailer, and they were just entering into the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and they wanted us to do a sort of a customer mapping in terms of why would they buy such an expensive eyewear? Apart from it being aspirational, how do you make it functional so that people actually buy it and use it? Not just buy it for the brand, but actually use it. So what we did, Ritu, was to understand in these tier 2 cities, was to understand the lifestyle of this person from 6 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night. What does he do? And usually in the tier 2s and tier 3s, we came across something that, yes, he does wake up early in the morning. He may go for his morning jog. And then some of them have an outdoor sales activity. Some of them may be an insurance agent. Some of them work, in their farms. Some of them do a marketing job. Some of them do a desk job. And in the evening, usually in the tier 2s and tier 3s, they would have a culture of getting together at a club where all of them would get together. So for this leading eyewear brand, what we did is we said, why don't we do a customer profiling in terms of the usage of his eyewear during the day that actually turned out to be 3 eyewears that he should use during the day. In the morning when he's going for a jog, he should wear maybe a rubberized one instead of having the gold-plated one. So that is where you sell your first piece. During the day, he's on the field, driving his scooter and motorcycle where dust and small pieces of stone may also hit his face. He wears something that is protective as well. By the evening, when he's sitting in the club, he wants to wear something fancy. So what we started doing is that we started mining the same client by profiling his day, not by just selling what you're trying to sell. So essentially what they started doing is what we call the conversion per head came to 2.2 times. Just by asking, what do you do, sir, during the day? On the other hand, you would ask, what piece would you like? So that's how things, would actually change. Similarly, what we realized, especially in these tier 2 cities or in the Indian heartland, you would see a lot of these farmers who have sold their land, they would have a lot of money now. And they would like to buy the Pajeros and the SUVs and all. But guess what? They really don't know what the car is. They really don't know what a BHP versus an ABS versus an XYZ feature was. And when they were planning to buy a 20 lakh, 30 lakh, 40 lakh, 50 lakh SUV, which they have the money to buy, they were somehow not convinced to take out that money out of their pocket, although they had the money. So what we told this leading automobile brand to do was to innovate from a perspective where they become something that we called a car doctor. Every salesman was actually wearing a white lab coat, and he had something written, I am a car doctor. And what would he would do? Something similar. Sir, aap kahan rehte hai? Where do you stay? How many people in the family? What do you do during the day? And then they would recommend a car from a doctor's perspective. And that is where the customers started feeling that I'm getting the right advice. So again, that's innovation. The product is the same. But innovating in the way that you sell has become very important. And yes, also using technology, which I will share during the presentation, is what I'll like to share a little bit on that as well.
So I guess I'm getting a cue from the backside that we have to close this session right over here. So I guess if you have questions, ladies and gentlemen, please connect with our speakers right outside over a cup of tea or a coffee. They're here for some time. So with this, I'll close the session. I think some great insights for entrepreneurial businesses, regional businesses, which have to actually go through a lot of pain because they first grow in a region and then they go across regions and then pan-India. There is a lot of, as Mr. Kumaravel rightly said, lot of margin that you would have or benefits that you would have that you initially have to pass on to your customers. You cannot keep it to yourselves. And later on, as your business grows, you negotiate deals better with your vendors, with your people who work for you. And actually, but keep customer at the center of the heart, but please don't bleed your business while doing it. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for being here. Thank you, sir, for coming all the way and talking to the audience right now.